Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, John.
Okay, I'll put it on mute and I will join in at 1.
Sounds great.
You should be live now.
It's me, I just need to mute my phone.
Is that your van out there? Brent, looking at the van that you took up a second. Look at the big ring behind it all. With the happy red fox. When I am in the forest, I feel ... is what the fox is saying.
Somebody should mute their audio.
I think it's in our room here, Supervisor Joya. We have some guests that have attended virtual or then in person.
Okay.
Okay, Supervisors Joya and Glover, I think we're set here in the room. I think Supervisor Glover has been promoted to a panelist. I think we're ready to go.
All right, let's start. This is a meeting of the Contra Costa County Industrial Safety Ordinance Community Warning System Ad Hoc Committee. I am Supervisor Joya from Richmond, and we have also Supervisor Glover. And we'll let him get on camera. Supervisor Glover, are you on?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can, we just can't see you.
Okay, I will working on that piece.
Yeah, they were doing this.
Supervisor Joya, if I could make an announcement, if there's a Spanish translator in the virtual room, if you could raise your hand, I will promote you to translation.
Oh, there's Federal. Okay, Federal, just introduce yourself.
So I am Supervisor Glover representing District 5 and here up at my Pittsburgh office at 190 East 4th Street.
And I'm here at my El Cerrito office. All right, first would be consider electing a committee member for chair and vice chair. I know the chair made appointments already, but we're just confirming them. Federal?
Yes, yes. So the appointment was for you to be chair and I would serve as vice chair.
Okay, so we've established that. We will continue that. Okay, item 3, public comment on items not on our agenda. If it's an agenda item, you will speak on the specific agenda item, and we do have a full agenda today. So,
So if anyone has public comment on any agenda item or any item not on the agenda today, please raise your hand in the Zoom app. We do have one hand raised, Heidi Taylor.
Mhm.
Good afternoon. My name is Heidi Taylor. I am a member of Healthy Martinez. I want to address the non-agenda item of the Scott Berger draft report regarding the Thanksgiving spent catalyst release. We received a copy of the draft report on February
Oh,
1st.
Heidi, we are gonna talk about, let me just see, we're gonna get an update under, what item is that? The,
7, I think.
item 7. We're gonna discuss everything related to Martinez refining, including this under number 7.
Including, including the Berger report.
Everything related to that would come up under that, yeah,
Okay, great. I'll hold my
Yeah.
comments until then. Thank you.
good, okay.
There are no other comments, Supervisor Joya.
Okay, item 4 is to approve the meeting minutes from December 11, 2023. Are you good with them, Federal?
I'm good with those.
Got it, thanks. All right, we will move those along. Is there any public comment on the minutes?
If there are any public comments on item number 4 to approve the minutes from December 11, 2023 ad hoc meeting, please raise your hand now in the Zoom app.
Do people call in or is it just Zoom?
They can call in as well, Supervisor Joya.
So please let them know how to raise their hand on the phone. I think it's a star button number.
Yeah, we don't have anyone called in on the phone that I can see on the Zoom app.
Okay, got it.
We have one comment from A. G'day.
On the minutes? We're talking on just the minutes.
Correct.
No, sorry.
Yeah. Hello?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. This was a non-agendized public comment, but if that's passed, that's okay.
You want to just let's approve the minutes and then we'll go back and take your comment.
Great. I appreciate it.
Any approval of the minutes? So no comments, minutes are fine. Number 3, just briefly, there's a public comment on a non-agenda item.
I just want to add these meetings get recorded, but they aren't placed on the county website after the meetings. They're really valuable to us as an organization, and we would appreciate them being published publicly. And that's it.
Matt, you record the meetings?
Yes, we do, and we post them on our YouTube channel, and I will provide the link in the meeting minutes in the future. I apologize.
Yeah, I think on our agenda page, you should provide the link on our agenda page as well.
Okay.
Okay,
To try to do that, yep.
got it. Okay, sounds good. All right. We will now move on to, oops, here, what my agenda. Item number 5 is to receive an update regarding the hazardous materials program's organizational structure and fee study and provide direction as necessary.
Yes, good afternoon, Supervisors Joya and Supervisor Glover. I will do the report out for this. Let me share my screen here real fast. Okay, so we want to provide an overview of where we stand in terms of the our hazmat program and the organizational structure and the fees that we assess to businesses that operate that either have hazardous materials or generate hazardous waste. Just as a quick overview, the hazmat program here within the health department, we are certified by Cal EPA, the California Environmental Protection Agency, to enforce all laws and regulations pertaining to what's called the Certified Unified Program Agency. And we are designated that for all of Contra Costa County. We also, here in the hazmat program for the health department, implement the county and the city of Richmond's industrial safety ordinances. We also staff a 24/7, 365 hazardous materials response team. Some of that time is obviously on call. We're not like firefighters where we're sitting in a firehouse ready to go, but we do have folks ready to go 24/7. They may just be at home waiting for a call. And we respond to incidents all throughout Contra Costa County. We implement the county's green business program. We also implement the county's integrated pest management program. We work a lot with our public works department on reducing the use of pesticides throughout the county. And then we have a few other programs, which include our childhood lead program. We work very closely with public health on that, and the stormwater program. Ooh. There we go. Okay, so our current organizational structure that we have for the division is we have a director of hazardous materials who has several direct reports, and you'll see them here on the org chart that I've shared. And there's a sort of a legend at the bottom right to indicate what the different acronyms on this org chart are. But essentially, the director has a supervisor of the engineering team reporting to her. She has 2 assistant directors that report to her. She has a clerical supervisor, an integrated pest management coordinator, and a hazardous waste reduction manager that report to her. Currently, we have 2 assistant directors that have a total of 21 hazardous materials specialists or technicians that report to these 2 positions. We currently have 1 assistant director position vacant, and we're holding that vacancy because we want to add a layer of supervision, which I'm going to show on the next screen here. So the next screen here shows our proposed org chart, and what we're attempting to do is cancel that assistant director position that we have open and add 3 supervising hazardous materials specialists. And this would be a new job class that we would need to establish here in the county and add 3 positions. And really what that would do is it would have our assistant director then overseeing 4 supervisors of technical staff here in the hazmat division. The engineering team, as well as 3 supervisors overseeing all the hazardous materials specialists and technicians that we have. We think that this is beneficial for many reasons, but primarily we need to really free up some time of the assistant director that we have here within the division to focus more on administrative tasks. Right now, the person who's serving in that role has 21 folks reporting to him, is overseeing their day-to-day activities, assigning work. It's just too much in the weeds, quite frankly, and we need them to zoom out a bit. And we'd like to have the assistant director focus more on incident investigations, making sure that the county has contracts in place to bring on specialized expertise when needed. And right now, we just don't have the bandwidth to do that within the organization. So the next slide here kind of goes through our timeline of attempting to establish this class. And it's been quite an experience, as you will see. We submitted this back in March of 2022 to County Human Resources. And again, the proposal was we want to establish the job classification of supervising hazardous material specialist and add 3 positions. And we had a lot of discussion about how that was going to be funded. And we demonstrated to the chief financial officer here within Contra Costa Health that we had enforcement funds, and we had canceled a significant contract that the county health department in the hazmat division was paying on every year. We canceled that contract into the future. And so we knew we had funding to bridge us to a new fee resolution that would cover the costs on the go forward for these supervising positions. In May through June, we met quite a bit with the Human Resources Department. We also met with the County Administrator's Office in August of 2022. And then in September of 22, we were asked to we asked the County Administrator to put their comments, their concerns to us in writing because we weren't getting headway on movement of establishing this job class. We didn't receive their comments in writing to us, but then we were advised in October of 22 that they were going to place on hold sort of adding these supervising positions because they needed to do a review of 62 other job classes that the board had requested Human Resources to review. I think it was a compensation study for those 62 job classes. Then in March through April of 2023, we began our conversations again, and ultimately on May 31st of 23, we were denied our request to add these supervising positions. The county human resources stated that the current structure that we had was sufficient for oversight of the unit. We respectfully did not agree with that determination, and since June of 23, we have been working with the county administrator's office, labor relations, and human resources to get a second review of our proposal to establish the supervising classification. So what improvements will the proposed structure bring? We really need an adequate span of control to supervise our technical staff. We need greater communication with them on a day-to-day basis, and we need to support them. Most of the work that they're doing is highly technical, as you all know. And so it really does require sort of day-to-day hands-on involvement of different issues that come up. And Contra Costa is very unique on the industrial side. We don't face the same issues that are faced throughout the state. So many times we're facing sort of things that are very unique to either Contra Costa or only specific other jurisdictions in the state. We would like to have an increase of leadership capacity within the hazmat division, specifically when we're responding to hazmat incidents, to have folks in the field that are in supervisory capacity. And then, as I mentioned before, we really need the increased administrative capacity for the assistant director role here within hazmat. So our fee structure, the last fee structure was approved by your board in 2012. So it's been almost 14 years since we've revised the fees for hazmat. We did hire a contractor to take a look at our fee structure and do what's called a time study to propose restructuring the fees. That began in late of December 2021. And since then, we have been going through the process of doing the fee study with the contractor. While there's a contractor that's sort of crunching those numbers, administratively here in the hazmat division, we're heavily involved in that process because we know our system the best. But the fee study does look at the total cost to administer the hazmat program for each permit level for each of the programs that we administer. Most importantly, the fee study would include the projected costs of canceling the one assistant director position and adding the 3 supervising hazardous materials specialist positions. That fee study is currently being reviewed by county council, and the proposed fees that will be set for the facilities will go through a comment period. We will do a presentation and we will invite all the regulated facilities with what the proposed changes will be. We will address those comments before ultimately bringing it to the Board of Supervisors for review and approval. So that is our current structure here in hazmat. Again, we're trying to establish a supervising hazardous materials job class. It's been quite difficult, but this is, I think, there's been some questions along the way as to delays in investigations and why certain things aren't happening faster. We are trying to build capacity here within the health department, specifically within the hazmat division, to get some of this work done quick, on a more timely basis, but we really need additional administrative staff within the division to do that work. And I'm open for questions.
So, Jack,
Yeah,
let me ask, because I know that these are positions that we've already identified. So what you're saying is that the classifications have not been done at this point?
That's correct. The job class has not been established, nor have the 3 positions been added to the hazmat division.
Okay, what's going on with the classification? Is it being worked on? What's the status?
Our understanding is labor relations is working on it right now, along with human resources. But I think for the specific sort of where it is right now in the process, I don't think Nicole or I are probably the best to answer that. I think that's.
I can update you, Federal.
Okay.
So I did speak to the county administrator who said that they are working with HR to work on these classifications. I did convey to the county administrator the importance of getting this done as quickly as possible because, you know, there's a lot happening. It doesn't take much to know that there's a lot happening with air pollution from refineries around this county, both at all the facilities, especially recently with Cal OSHA being involved with issues at Marathon, with the issues, of course, we're investigating at Martinez Refining, with issues that have been ongoing at Chevron, the recent settlement by the Air District. We absolutely need to bring these positions on board quickly. I'm not going to repeat that, but this is the message, and I think we
Yeah.
want as a committee to express that. My
Right.
understanding, Matt, is while the fee, let me just say, these positions are fully paid for by industry. They're paid through fees. They don't come out of the county general fund. There is no excuse not to move this along quickly. I will say, Matt, you said that even though we haven't processed the fee increase, that you have had a source of money, of dollars to pay for these positions, even pending the fee increase. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we demonstrated that to the Chief Financial Officer for Health Services, Pat Godley, who approved the request to move forward to downtown to add the supervising job class and the positions.
Okay, 'cause
Right.
we've already asked that this be done, so I'm not sure what's the big delay. And so, John, you were gonna explain that in terms of.
I don't know why the HR did not, I don't know why they did not at the time believe that this organizational structure was needed. I did, however, in talking to the county administrator, they wanted to process this at the time that the fee increase occurred. Although what I'm hearing from Matt is that the health department conveyed to HR. Did you convey to HR that you had health department funding for these positions?
That's correct, John, and the denial that we received initially from HR was not based on the financial piece. It was based on the fact that they thought we had enough administrative staff in place. And I think Nicole and I are here to say we do not. We've been asking for a while.
And that's a board call.
Yes.
I think we just need to be very, very much sending the message that we want this filled. Right? There is a need that this happens.
Right. And so that will be our message. The county administrator assured me that they will move this along as quickly as possible. They're working with the county administrator's office. With the county counsel's office. So maybe we are just conveying here again, maybe our message as a committee that this needs to be done, immediately. And the fee increase will also be coming to the board as well.
Right. Okay.
And, so whether we need to go to the full board, I don't think we need to at this time. We'll just keep an eye on making sure that gets done as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I guess before we do any motions on this, is there any public comment?
If you have public comment on item number 5, which is to receive an update regarding the hazardous materials organizational structure and fee study, please raise your hand now in the Zoom app. We have one comment, Heidi Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I just want to express how frustrating it is to be here on other issues, but then realize what's been going on behind the scenes. I applaud Hazmat County Health for trying to get these additional positions. They requested it in March of 2022, and the county administrator denied it. That is so disturbing to me, given what has happened since then. And Matt's right. We've been complaining about why things aren't getting done more quickly, et cetera. So I'm not sure if someone has power that is not exercising that correctly, but I hope you, Supervisor Joya and Glover, will make sure that you all are calling the shots, because based on your comments today, I trust that you have our best interest at heart and that you will follow through on that. So thank you to Matt, Nicole, and everyone for pushing for what we need. And I hope that the next time we meet, that you have good news for us, that these positions have been hired. Thank you.
Okay. So we make a, another comment?
We have we do have an additional comment. Tony, I will promote you to panelist.
Thank you, Matt. A quick question, Matt. You're looking at the big picture here. How does the 3 supervisors impact the ability of your organization or Nicole's organization to do more inspections or quicker response? Could you highlight that a bit? Because I'm looking at what, with the incident we had at MRC and the oversight we've been going through, does this have any impact on that process?
Supervisors Joya and Glover, would you like me to answer that?
Sure.
So as I said during the presentation, we are looking to add an additional administrative capacity within the division. And adding supervisors would free up a lot of the assistant director's time to work closely with Nicole on oversight committee activities, on establishing contracts, on having technical experts on retainer, sort of the long-term strategic planning for the division to make sure that we are well-equipped and well-positioned to respond to an incident and the investigation afterwards of that incident.
Yeah, that's what, my feelings regarding the process that we're going through as an oversight committee member. Certainly that has to be streamlined, and I hope that the addition of these supervisors will help that process.
That is what we would like to see, Tony.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more comment from Kathy. Kathy, you can unmute yourself.
Thanks. Yes, I just say go for it. You have to push this stuff through, and I hope that you're successful. It's been exasperating as a member of the public and Healthy Martinez to see the overlapping of major issues. For example, as far as I know, there's something in the agenda today about the wharf spill over enrichment. That is still not finished. And how many years have to go by? Investigations really need to be done stat. The Chemical Safety Board investigation that's going to be released today is a case in point. They can just go in and look at metals. We haven't been able to do that. So as a case in point, we'll use that item that is on the agenda today. Okay, thank you.
We have no more comments, supervisors.
All right.
I just want to stress that we've heard the community, we've heard the department, so we'll make sure that we get this message out again.
Okay, we will follow up. That's your motion. I'll second. So that's our direction. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. All right, moving on to our next item. Item number 6, which is receiving a status report regarding the independent incident investigation into the February 9, 2021 wharf oil spill at the Chevron Richmond refinery and provide direction.
Thank you, Supervisor Joya. So to provide just a little bit of background for those who might not be familiar, where we last left off is that in July of 2023, a 45-day public comment period was started for the report on the Chevron Richmond Refinery's wharf oil spill by our third-party contractor, Accutech. There was also a public meeting held on July 17th. When that public comment period closed in August, we had received in excess of 150 plus comments from the public, which we need to respond to as part of our process. The division is still currently working on drafting responses to all of those comments. And the next steps will be to incorporate that into a final report, which will be presented to the board and City of Richmond. Once that final report has been presented, we will then issue that final report on our website. End of update.
Yeah, and sorry, when are we gonna get it here?
I am hoping that we will be able to address this at our next meeting. But as Matt has just indicated in his prior presentation, the division is understaffed in terms of resources for administrative support. So we are still working on addressing those comments, but we are not completed at this time.
Okay. All right. Is there yes, any comments on this? Any public comment?
If you'd like to make a public comment on the February 9th, 2021 wharf oil spill at the Chevron Richmond Refinery update, please raise your hand now. We have no comments, supervisors.
Okay. Thank you. We will now move on to item number 7, which is to receive an update from the Oversight Committee and provide direction as necessary regarding the investigation into the spent catalyst release that occurred in November 2022 at the Martinez Refining Company. And after that, I will briefly say something about the Air District settlement with both Martinez Refining and Chevron, since that does it is indirectly related. A lot of residents have expressed interest in that, so I will at the end make some comments about that settlement.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Joya. I am going to start with doing an update on the independent incident investigation and the safety culture work that is being overseen by the Oversight Committee, and then I will turn it over for our final report on our community risk assessment. So Matt, if you want to cue up the presentation while I give my brief update.
Sure.
In terms of the incident investigation root cause analysis that was performed by Scott Berger, the update is that this draft report has been presented to the Oversight Committee on February 2nd of 2024. At that point in time, additional comments from the Oversight Committee were received in addition to written comments that were submitted to myself as the chair of the Oversight Committee. The next steps on this incident investigation report are for Scott Berger to address all of the comments from the Oversight Committee and make any updates to the incident investigation report as necessary. Afterwards, we will open a 45-day public comment period with a public meeting to take place to receive comments from the public on this draft investigation report. When that 45-day public period begins, we will be posting the new draft report onto our website and sending out notices to all of our interested parties to advise them that this 45-day public comment period has started and when and where the public meeting will take place. Scott Berger is also the third-party consultant that has been selected to perform the safety culture assessment at the Martinez Refining Company. And our update is that the work for that has begun. He has already received documents and has scheduled a site visit here in Martinez the first week of March. Now I'd like to transition over to discussion on the work we have done for our community risk assessment. So we started the Oversight Committee work by hiring TRC to perform a community risk assessment to evaluate any impacts to public health that may have resulted from the November 24th, 2022 spent catalyst release. This included a soil evaluation. This report has already seen their draft presented to the Oversight Committee. We have held our 45-day public comment period and public meeting on September 25th of 2023. We have received public comments and now we have addressed the public comments, and TRC is here to present on the final report to the board. Matt, if we want to turn that over to TRC and promote our panelists, thank you.
Yeah, Jenny, you should be promoted, I'm hoping.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
And do you want my camera on or off? Does it?
Either way.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. It's Jenny Phillips. And as they said, I'm with TRC. My work is in human health and ecological risk assessment and have been helping the county health department here, the Custer County Health Department here with this issue. So next slide, please. Just a quick refresher on background. There was absolutely physical evidence of the release that was observed and reported by nearby community members as white powder was deposited on the surfaces of spent catalyst. The county conducted analytical testing of the dust and determined it to be consistent with spent catalyst. And then there was some plume modeling done by the air district that I'll refer to here in a slide or so. So the purpose of the recent effort and report is to focus on health and environmental impacts related to airborne deposition of spent catalyst using a screening level risk assessment process that is consistent with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or U.S. EPA, and California DTSC protocols. Next slide. In order to conduct the screening level risk assessment, there was some soil sampling conducted, and I will show you the locations on an upcoming slide. 14 soil samples were analyzed for 14 metals, which may be associated with spent catalyst. And I say maybe, as metals are also present naturally, and therefore, as I will talk about in a later slide, in the risk assessment, we also consider natural background concentrations. The purpose of the risk assessment was to evaluate residential exposures to what is remaining in the soil and if there's any potential for long-term effects or health concerns. Next slide. A risk assessment is a formal EPA-defined process that has 4 components. First, collection of data that will then be compared to protective health levels. An exposure assessment, which is an evaluation of how people and animals can contact the dispersed spent catalyst dust. Again, we assumed residential exposures, which are those of the longest duration, frequency, and level of contact. A toxicity evaluation, which includes EPA-defined values to estimate a dose response from chemicals. So these values may vary based on the chemical and also on the effect of the chemical. For example, some chemicals may be carcinogenic, others may affect your liver or your kidneys. Risk characterization pulls all that data, the exposure and toxicity get together to estimate, in this case, a screening value that is protective of human health and the environment. And thus, that's what the soil data was compared to. Next slide. Another way of thinking about this can be captured in what we call a conceptual site model. This starts with the source, the spent catalyst dust, and graphically shows how it might move through the environment in air, be deposited on soil, and then be contacted by humans and animals, either directly or through produce uptake. So this is another way of understanding the exposure component on the previous slide. In the report, a flow chart style conceptual site model is included. Next slide. Here are the soil sampling locations. As stated previously, they were determined through a scientific deposition model conducted by the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, and also through input from community members who reported observed dust deposition. The model results were critically reviewed by TRC's certified consulting meteorologist, Gail Hofnagel, who has previously provided expert witness input for 3 other catalyst dust releases by refineries within the United States. Next slide. We had a couple of comments on the comparison of soil sample data to naturally occurring or background levels. We responded to those comments in the report attachment and provided more detailed information. The background literature studies selected were meant to derive a regional background range, which may include samples collected from the San Francisco Bay Area. and which presents unique geological formations, and we included a figure to show where. Therefore, when evaluating the nature and extent of the November 2022 release and assessing risks related to that release, the US EPA and DTSC allow for the consideration of the expected background range. So we pull this together to a conclusion. None of the metals analyzed exceed the expected regional background range. Secondly, 2 metals, arsenic and lead, exceeded the residential direct contact screening levels. However, those exceedances were not likely associated with the spent catalyst material. And how do we know that? Well, we looked at the proportions of the metals, and they did not match that of the spent catalyst composition in the bulk material or the dust white samples. So based on those findings, TRC did not recommend additional sampling or further evaluation. And I think that's the last slide.
Okay,
So where do we feel that the findings for those that exceeded came from? Is it just natural?
Yes, there definitely is a range of background over an area as you would expect, and both of them fell into the background range. So they're probably naturally present. And it's not unusual for metals in particular to exceed like residential direct contact screening levels because those levels are so low. So this is a very, very common thing to occur, but when it's attributed to background concentrations, it's not something to be worried about. Good question.
Thank you.
You bet.
want us in Health Department go through the other portions of this?
No further updates on MRC.
And just to note, I did ask the district attorney's office for an update on the investigation by the Air District and the DA's office, and the response is that they don't comment on pending investigations. So I will say, both as an Air District member as well, that there is an ongoing investigation into the incidents. Can you tell us also the status of the full audit, safety audit?
Yes, so I believe, are you asking about the triannual audit that we are required to do?
The audit that we ordered, remember we ordered a full safety culture audit of the whole facility.
The safety culture assessment process has begun. Scott Berger is doing that work, and he will be making a site visit to the Martinez refinery the first week of March.
What's the expected timeline and completion date for this audit?
I would have to get back to you on that.
And anything you want to report on your unannounced inspection of the facility? I think any things to report there.
We did start an unannounced inspection on December 26th of last year. That unannounced inspection was completed on the 29th of January, and we are working on posting that final report.
Maybe, you'll give an update to the Martinez City Council and the Oversight Committee.
Correct.
When will that happen?
I am anticipating to have the next oversight committee sometime in March, pending the update I get from Scott Berger on his work for safety culture assessment. Matt, do you know when our next Martinez City Council meeting is?
I don't think we have anything scheduled to go to the Martinez City Council, Supervisor Joya, but we will reach out to them once the findings are posted and let them know that they're available.
Right. And I'll say, because there's been a lot of community interest, as was publicly announced, the Air District there was a settlement on the Air District's rule and the lawsuits by both Chevron and MRC. In that agreement, Chevron and MRC agreed to withdraw their lawsuits challenging Rule 6-5, which would require the installation of pollution control equipment at the facility to meet a new standard. The regulation did not require specific pieces of equipment. It required meeting the new PM standard, which in the case of Martinez would result in about an 80% decrease in particulate matter from the cat cracker unit, what's called the fluid catalytic cracking unit. In the case of Chevron, it would result in about a 70% decrease in particulate matter. The two ways to comply under current technology are either a wet gas scrubber, which is what Chevron will be installing, or sort of this electrostatic precipitator a type of equipment, which is the direction that Martinez Refining is following. The compliance deadline is July 2026. Martinez looks like they will be meeting that deadline, which is why they would not have any penalties assessed if they met the July 2026 deadline. And the Air District agreed to do continuous monitoring under an EPA methodology, and will be very public and transparent about that to ensure compliance at MRC. If they did not comply, if they end up not complying, they would similarly be assessed very large penalties, although it appears they'll be complying by the deadline. I will also say the Chevron settlement included $20 million in fines and penalties for previous notice of violations over a period of time, and some other agreements. The Martinez did not have that because those are under investigation now. And once those violations are fully investigated, it is likely there will be some fines and penalties of some amount coming out of that. We don't yet know what that would be, but likely to be some there as well. So I just wanted to add that to the comment. I know that we will be making a presentation, me and the Air District, to the Richmond City Council later this month on the Chevron settlement. If the Martinez City Council request a presentation by the Air District, I'm sure that will happen as well. So just wanted to add those items.
John, thanks for sharing that, because I think it's important for the both communities to understand the difference and the finding that's taken place.
All right, shall we go to public comments?
If you would like to make public comment on item number 7, which is to receive an update from the Oversight Committee and provide direction as necessary regarding the investigation into the spent catalyst release that occurred on November 24th through 25th, 2022 at the Martinez Refining Company, please raise your hand now. We have several comments. We'll start with Heidi Taylor.
How many minutes did we establish for comments?
2 minutes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Heidi Taylor, and I'm with Healthy Martinez. I've seen Scott Berger's draft report, and yesterday I received a copy of the interim report by the Chemical Safety Board regarding the Marathon fire on November 19th of last year. For the record, I know more about what happened at Marathon just 3 months ago than I do about PBF or MRC 15 months ago. The ISO has been touted as the gold standard regarding its investigative powers. But looking at both reports, it's obvious that the county's investigation by Scott Berger is severely lacking. We were told that we didn't need the CSB because the county's investigation would be detailed and complete. But how can that be? No one has inspected the physical equipment involved in the spent catalyst release. The CSB report states a post-incident examination of the furnace identified the release point as a ruptured tube in the convection section of the furnace. They provide a picture. Further investigation of the furnace tubes is ongoing. They also say that they're continuing to gather facts, including furnace tube metallurgy and failure mode analysis. Now, that's what an investigation looks like. That's what a draft report looks like. The county called the Berger report an independent investigation, but there's no independently substantiated facts. It relies on the conversations with employees or MRC executives. Someone needs to put hands on that MRC equipment. The root cause analysis
30
cannot be considered complete until a thorough inspection of the physical equipment involved has been conducted. Don't make us wait for public comment. Supervisors Joya and Glover, tell Berger to go back and do that. One more thing, Martinez City Council will meet March 6th, and Supervisor Joya, is MRC complying now with Rule 6.5? Will they agree to comply up until the deadline? And will the public have access to that data? Thank you.
But just on the MRC compliance, my understanding is that they are close to comply, that they are not in compliance today. The rule requires them to comply by July 2026. So, and that indications are that they will be complying before that date, whether it may be next year, 2025. So that the Air District rule requires it, again, July 2026. And they will comply by that date, at some point before that date. That's what the Air District understands. As to the Scott Berger, Matt or Nicole, did you want to make some further comments about that?
No, I think what I will just say on there is that, Heidi, we hear your comments and we will look into the matter. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And you'll report to all of us.
We will
Okay.
provide updates at the Oversight Committee meetings as well as the ISO CWS Ad Hoc Committee meetings, correct?
Got it. Okay.
Our next comment will be from Maureen Brennan.
Hi, thanks. My concern is this: I believe that these background levels that I'm seeing are skewed. TRC has not done a good job on this. I call it funky science. And let me refer to table 2, just as an example of zinc. They typically, and this is per Michael Kent, I conversed with him about that. Typically, we historically use background levels from the Berkeley Lawrence lab. Yet TRC has added in 14 other sources, including Union City, California. That is not geographically close to MRC. So that should be an outlier and be tossed out right away. However, TRC has made their new top range 474 based on that one number out of 15. That makes no sense to me. I ran this by Gwen Ottinger at Drexel University in environmental science. She runs the program there. She says, that doesn't sound right. Your background levels need to be geographically close to where you're studying. And by doing so, they're saying for that element zinc that out of 14 sites tested, none of them were above 474. But if you look at the Berkeley Lawrence numbers, which we historically use, 4 of them are above safe levels. So, and consider this for comparison, that the human can take in 2 milligrams per day. So, and also the other concern I have besides background levels is this data from May 2023. How can TRC make conclusions 6 months after the event and after 4 atmospheric rivers have occurred? It's going to skew your numbers.
30 seconds.
And 14 sites were analyzed. Only 3 were near the refinery and downwind on that infamous Thanksgiving Day. The other 11 sites were all over the map in Contra Costa County within the plume area. So these numbers just do not add up well. Thank you.
Other comments?
Our next comment will be from Kathy.
Good morning again. The TRC representative, Jenny Phillips, has said that the EPA allows for regional background levels. I kind of question the use of that. That sounds like it's questionable in this particular circumstance. There's plenty of soil around in our area. The typical plume that we get from that refinery would probably be more accurate to test the soils that are usually affected and then compare them to what was affected on that date. Also, I want to repeat a little bit of what Marie just said. The sample size, I think, though, is very small with the chemical exceedances. Very small sample size, especially when you have such a high range. You're going all the way over to other counties to find background levels that are available right here in Martinez. As far as the catalyst, when the catalyst fell, I didn't see any catalyst at my house, not like some people. But I don't think anybody has ever used the excuse that just because at my place it wasn't seen, that I have to represent my section of Martinez as being totally unaffected. I mean, it doesn't go in reverse. You can't go up to Sonoma County to look and see what their soils look like when you have plenty of soils in Martinez to look at. Thank you.
Our next comment will be from Jillian Elliott.
Thank you. I'm Jillian Elliott. I'm also with Healthy Martinez. I would like to endorse Heidi Taylor's comments, especially the idea that we would have an assessment that didn't do any assessment of the mechanics and the functioning of the systems beyond human error is just beyond me, particularly when we know that employees had said that they noticed that the slider valve was sticking and they were either dismissed or didn't follow up on that. My other concern that I want to ask is, who is measuring the emissions? When you say that the PBF refinery in Martinez is close to meeting emission guidelines, who is actually measuring that? And the reason I ask that is, are we relying on the refinery to measure it? In discussion with management at the refinery, they said that they measure differently, that they think that the numbers that we gave them, which were provided by BACMed for their emissions, was wrong, and that they told us outright that they measured things differently. So I'm asking, when you're saying that they are close to meeting the emissions guidelines, who's measuring, how are they measuring, and how can we trust that? Thank you. I'd also like to say that the report would tell me that we or the settlement would tell me that we are getting close to helping to resolve our emissions guidelines, but we haven't resolved the safety guidelines. Thank you.
The Air District will be out there at the facility to verify the accuracy of what's called the continuous monitoring system through periodic stack tests, including once per quarter during the first year. They're going to verify accuracy using methods and criteria that are set forth by the US EPA. So Air District will be there to ensure that they're using the EPA methodology, monitoring system, and so it will be closely monitored by the Air District.
Thank you, Supervisor Joya, and I'm sorry that quarterly counts as continuous, but I do appreciate this. Thank you.
I think what they're doing is the continuous monitoring system. The methodology will be established. It's an EPA methodology. It will be monitored. The actual monitoring system will be fully approved by the Air District. The protocols for that, and then they will go out and do these periodic stack testings.
Thank you.
We have no more comments on this item.
Okay. All right. Do we need any kind of, so that we're accepting that report? All right. We will now move on to item 9, which is to receive a status report regarding modification. Oh, I'm sorry, item 8, excuse me. Receive a status report regarding the major chemical accident and release at Marathon Renewable Fuels Facility in November of 2023 and provide direction.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to provide an update on where we are in terms of both our work being done by our internal team and our contract that we are supporting for this investigation. So on November 19, 2023, there was a tube rupture and fire at a furnace at the Marathon Renewable Fuels Facility, which resulted in significant injury to an employee and was also classified as a level 2 community warning system release, which means it was a major chemical accident or release. As a result of that, Contra Costa Health Hazmat started a safety inspection with our engineering team on site at Marathon. That safety inspection is still continuing right now. There are other agencies conducting their own investigations on site, including Cal OSHA and the Chemical Safety Board. We are working very closely with these agencies as we go through the process of completing our safety inspection. I do also want to note, as has been brought up by others during this meeting, that the CSB did issue an update yesterday on their progress on the incident investigation. When the team from Contra Costa Health finishes their safety inspection, which is really focusing right now on safety elements that are within the industrial safety ordinance, such as, the management systems, human factors, fatigue, management of organizational change, that report will be posted online. We also, from a prior industrial safety ordinance community warning system ad hoc meeting in December, were directed to engage with a third-party consultant to perform a safety culture assessment and management system review. We have started the process of that through our public works system within the county for the contract, and will provide updates at future meetings on the work when that has begun and when we anticipate a report on the safety culture assessment and management system review to be done. End of report. Thank you.
All right, Federal, have any comments?
No, I just look forward to when that's completed.
Okay. All right, any public comment on this item?
If you'd like to make a public comment on item number 8, which is to receive a status report regarding a major chemical accident or release at the Martinez Renewable Fuels Facility on November 19, 2023, please raise your hand now in the Zoom app. We have no comments, supervisors. Oh, we have a comment. We have a comment. Tony?
Thank you, Matt. I had a couple of comments before, but you didn't recognize me. I am really surprised, and I'm happy that the Chemical Safety Board was able to do that or get out that preliminary report. That's been unusual for them, but hopefully, they've done some reorganization and they're moving quickly. I did have a comment because Heidi brought up an issue on MRC and the equipment. You had an unannounced inspection, John and Federal, of the unit, and they look specifically at the FCC and associated plants. I know you're in there now doing a 5-week inspection, but can you give a quick update on what was found on the unannounced inspection? Because I think that's what Heidi was addressing, and I think that was done on that equipment.
To the staff, any comments?
Yeah, so I do want to comment on the unannounced inspection. The unannounced inspection, while it did identify the element which we call mechanical integrity as one of the elements that we are evaluating, the focus on the unannounced inspection was to look at the status of deferred maintenance of the refinery, the status of inspections and tests that were being done, and looking at the mechanical integrity element as a whole in terms of how this is being managed as a system. There was not a review of any particular piece of equipment looking at its failure. Instead, there was looking at, sorry, let me take a pause. We were not looking specifically at the FCC November 24th release in terms of any equipment failure. What we were looking at was ensuring that inspections and tests were being done at the frequency of which they are required to be done through standards that are provided by the American Petroleum Institute. If there was any inspections and tests that were not completed in time, looking into the reasons why those were not completed, looking into any deferred maintenance and the reasons for deferred maintenance, looking into any temporary repairs, which means if you're not completing a needed repair, but putting in some sort of interim repair, how long those temporary repairs had been going on. And at the time of our update that we had posted online, we had not found anything within that element that indicated that there was an imminent safety hazard. But I did want to clarify that it was not drilling down and looking at any specific piece of equipment that was involved in the November 24th through 25th, 2022 release. And we will be posting that final report online. We're working on posting that final report online. Thank you.
Okay, other comments?
We have no more public comment, Supervisor Joya.
Okay, moving on to item 9, to receive a status report regarding proposed modifications to the hazardous materials incident notification policy for level 1 incident notifications to the public and provide direction as necessary.
Yes, good afternoon. Matt Kaufman, Deputy Director with the Health Department. I'll be providing the update on this. So as a little bit of history here, the community warning system has 3 levels of notification. And they're escalating in severity. So level 1 is notification only. There is no offsite health consequence that's been deemed present in the community. And we only notify the public via our website or post to Contra Costa Health's social media and whatnot if the incident lasts longer than 20 minutes because it can be seen or heard, or if there's any odors offsite. A level 2 incident is where we issue a public health advisory. There may be offsite health consequence for those that are sensitive populations, maybe those that are predisposed to certain health conditions. When we have a level 2, we post information about that incident on our website. We text message folks that have signed up to receive text messages through the community warning system and identify themselves as being located within the area of impact, or if they've asked to be notified about specific incidents at specific facilities. We email folks using the same logic. We post it on our Facebook, Twitter. It goes on the community warning systems website. And again, there is a health advisory that's issued to media outlets. For a level 3, which is the most severe incident, that is where we are issuing some sort of public protection. We expect offsite health consequence for the general public. And we essentially use all tools available to us to alert the public. And that includes sirens that you may hear in the community, phone calls, both to landlines and cell phones that have registered through the community warning system, emails, text messages. We post it on our website as well as the community warning systems website. It gets posted on social media, and there is a health advisory issue. So really this survey that we did focused just on level 1 notifications. We've sort of looked at level 2s and level 3s. We have a very prescribed system of communicating with the public for those levels. But what we were interested in is for level 1 incidents, and again, these are incidents that do not have an offsite health consequence to the community. What sort of notifications may the public want to see for those types of incidents? So this body, this committee directed us on November 11th of last year to conduct a survey of the community. We presented the survey in draft form to this community, or to this committee, as well as to the sheriff's office who runs the community warning system. We received comments back from everybody, and we posted that survey on December 15th, and it was live through January 19th. And during that time, we did outreach, which included a press release that we did. We posted it on our website. It was actually on the main page of our website. We posted it on social media several times. We messaged our city and special district partners through channels that we have here. And then also elected officials posted it in their newsletters and whatnot. The survey results were presented on January 25th after we received them to the Community Awareness and Emergency Response Notification Committee, which has industry present on that committee. And we asked industry to provide their comments on the survey. We did not receive any comments from industry on the survey. We also met with the Office of the Sheriff, with Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, several city partners, as well as the Community Awareness and Emergency Response Group on February 9th to discuss the survey results and what they meant. And here's the results. We got 560 responses to the survey. And as you would anticipate, we did this county-wide, but our highest participation were from zip codes that really is where industry is present. Martinez, Pittsburgh, Richmond, Antioch, and Concord, and then followed by Rodeo, were sort of our top responses in terms of percentages that responded to the survey. And I'm going to go through each question here. How familiar are you with the county's community warning system as it pertains to hazardous materials incidents? Roughly 2/3 of the county are familiar with the community warning system. However, about 20% are not. So there's maybe an opportunity there to get the message out through community education or information. Have you signed up for the community warning system to receive notifications during emergencies? 2/3 almost of people had said that they had signed up. Which is great. And of course, we would like to see everyone in the county signed up, but about 1/3 of the respondents had not signed up. So there's probably more opportunity there to get people signed up through the community warning system. How well do you feel the county does in educating the community on the community warning system in general? About 2/3 of respondents said we're doing pretty well on educating the public with what the community warning system does and what it is. But about 1/3 of our residents felt that we were doing either a poor or very poor job at educating them on the community warning system. Again, opportunity exists there. So question number 5 says, what do you think is the best way to educate our community about the community warning system? Really looking at, for those 1/3 of the population that we're not doing a good job of communicating with, what are the best ways to communicate with our community? And what we saw is social media is very high up there, followed by information booths or community events, which I know the health department, as well as the Office of the Sheriff, attend community events throughout the year, followed by printed mailers, and then public transit, sort of on the side of buses or in bus stations or BART stations, internet advertising, and then billboard signs. But pretty much across the board, I think it would be good for us to sort of utilize all of these avenues to educate the public on the community warning system. Have you ever received a message from the community warning system for a hazardous materials incident? About half of the population said that they had. And just a caution that many of the notifications that go out from the community warning system during a hazardous materials incident are based on where you are geographically. So the fact that folks didn't receive a notification for a hazardous materials incident does not mean that they're not signed up in the system, and does not mean that they would not receive a notification should an event occur where they're located. Question 7, if you received the message, was it clear and understandable? 75%, almost greater than 3/4 of the respondents felt that the message was clear and understandable, which is good. About 1/4 of the respondents felt that it was somewhat unclear or not clear at all. So there is probably an opportunity there to improve our messaging, and we'll work with the Office of the Sheriff on that. So really questions 8, 9, 10, and 11 get to the heart of the survey, which is, would you be interested in receiving information regarding hazardous materials incidents that do not have a health impact to the public? 13.2% of folks said that they would not be interested in receiving information about level 1s, 74 people. The rest of folks, 86.7% of people, indicated that they would want to receive information about these incidents, even if they do not have a health impact. And we asked them, which types of incidents would you want to receive information on? And fires received the highest response, followed by chemical spills, then by smoke events, then leaks, then odors, and actually very low on the list was flaring. Although 307 of the 560 respondents said that they would want to know about flaring if it was happening in their community. If you were to receive notifications for hazardous materials incidents that are not considered to have an imminent threat to health and safety, how would you want to receive them? So really this is kind of aiming at how folks want to receive this information when there isn't a public health impact to this incident. And 406 of the 560 respondents said they would want to receive a text message. 190 said by email, and then 68 said by phone call. So really people sort of want to receive it in print form and they prefer text messaging. Question 10, would you like the ability to select how you are notified for non-emergent hazardous materials incidents? For example, flaring, odors, chemical leaks, these sort of things. Almost 80% of the folks said that they would want to choose how they're notified. While 20% thought that it was better to have sort of a one-size-fits-all approach. And then our last question is, would you like the ability to select how you are notified during each level of hazardous material incident? Meaning sort of select how you want to be notified for a level 1, how you want to be notified for a level 2, and even for a level 3, although for level 3, we utilize all tools in the toolbox because we want to protect the public. But 75% said that they wanted to have sort of control of how they receive messages for each of the types of incidents that we have. So in summary, 86.7% of respondents want to receive the information or are looking to receive information for CWS level 1 incidents, even though they don't have a health impact. 72.5% of respondents would be interested in receiving text messages, followed by 34% or so by email. Almost 80% of respondents indicated that they would like the ability to select how they're notified for each type of incident. And 75% also said that they would like the ability to select how they're notified for each level of incident. And then overall, I think looking at the first questions of the survey, there are opportunities to increase public awareness and education as it pertains to the community warning system, and in particular associated with hazmat incidents. So I think the results of the survey, sort of lead us, I think, to a discussion, and Supervisors Joya and Glover, I think we're looking for direction as staff to sort of say, is the board interested in making no changes to the community warning system as it pertains to level 1 incidents? Or if you are interested in making changes, there are probably some specific key questions that we would need to have, I think, some direction on, so that we could go back, discuss with our partners, whether it be the sheriff's office, maybe even city partners or fire departments. But really, should there be an opt-in for level 1 notifications, meaning somebody would sign up to receive these notifications, and it wouldn't be based on the fact that they registered for a community warning system in the community warning system at all. The second would be, do we want to notify people by each type of incident? Meaning, should be able to say, I want to be notified when there's flaring, but I don't care if it's smoke. Do we want to make it that granular? The third question is notifications by specific facilities. So for level 1s, there really isn't an impacted area. So we really would need to sort of know, do you want to receive a level 1 incident notification for just incident or facility A, or do you want to receive it for facility A, B, and C? We would probably need to drill down to some discrete level. Otherwise, everybody would be receiving potentially every single level 1 for every single facility. And then what methods of notification would you like to see us explore? Would that be text message, email, phone calls? I think we need a bit of clarity on sort of the modality of how we're going to contact the public to understand what tools and what configurations we'll need to make to maybe existing tools to make that happen. So that's the end of the presentation, and happy to answer questions.
Okay, I'll start by expressing a few thoughts. and I'll turn to federal, and then I know we'll take some comment. Today's is not any final decision, it's sort of a start of our discussion. And I'll say, I think it's true, both federal and I have talked about the need to expand notifications to some subset of level 1 incidents, not necessarily all. And I will say, having been around this for many years, you know, that there are, you know, level 1 incidents can go from a very, very minor incident that has really no real impact to those that can be seen or heard or smelled. And I understand they become level 2 when they have an offsite health impact. Sometimes there's an offsite odor or visual impact, and it causes people to ask and question what is going on. And then the health department, the air district, or our offices are contacted to explain what's going on. So it looks serious. People questioning it. What do they do? I think in those, what I have heard from residents, and I agree, in those subset of level 1, we should be notifying individuals in real time. I think as to the other level 1s, I think clearly disclosing all of those very publicly is important. I am not certain that real-time notification provides, in fact, I think it could potentially have this cry wolf kind of impact. I actually was at a neighborhood meeting in East Richmond last night. There were about 40 people, and I asked about this question. And what the majority of folks indicated at that meeting was, yeah, they want to be notified in real time of serious level 1 incidents that they can see or smell or hear. Not necessarily a minor incident that they don't see or even know about. So there's a line to be drawn. I'm not sure where that line exactly is. I think we want to understand that more. And I know we want to work with the sheriff's department on this because they operate the system and we pay for it through the health department fees on industry. I mean, part of it here is the community warning system is designed to tell people in real time what's going on so they can take action or know what's going on. Saying that, I do believe that it is important to publicly disclose somewhere on all our sites, all level 1. So members of the public who want to look at it can find that information. I think previously we did not require the refineries to disclose level 1 incidents to the county. We did change that. And I'm glad we changed it. And I think we need to get all notices. I've heard from some people like, well, I'm getting a lot of text messages. I don't see anything happening. So I think that's the distinction is having level 1 incidents that you know are seen or are known by the community or by some. And there's a lot of those. There's a lot of level 1 incidents that have happened that should be disclosed. So that's my initial thinking. And I think we need more discussion and need to work on what that would look like. So again, it's 2 parts. Real-time notification for, quote, more serious level 1 with other types of notification, you know, online, however we do that for other level 1, but not through a real-time community warning system notice. And we'll hear from the public on this. Federal?
Yeah. So as John said, we've had some discussion around this, and I agree that I don't want to put people in panic mode with level 1s, but I think when people are able to see or to smell something that looks like it may be taking place, we should be responding to that on a level 1. But I do not want to be at a point where we're just putting all level 1s out there that cause no risk to the public. I think it's important for those individuals that are interested to be able to sign up for the level 1 reporting. But I think there's people that's really been impacted that want to know every level that takes place. And if that's the case, if we could put a mechanism in place where we reach out to those individuals that want that information, trying to find a way to do that, we should be working towards. So that's my thinking, and you know, I would look for maybe, well, hearing from the public and then looking to staff after you've heard mine and Supervisor Joya's desires to come up with a process after hearing from the public also. That's all I have right now.
Would you like us to take public comment now, supervisors?
Yes.
If you'd like to make a public comment on item number 9, which is to receive a status report regarding proposed modifications to the Contra Costa County hazardous materials incident notification policy for level 1 incidents, please raise your hand now in the Zoom app. Our first speaker will be Heidi Taylor.
Hi, all. I think it's very clear that the survey shows an overwhelming support for notifications of level 1. I want to acknowledge what Supervisor Glover just said. There are those of us who need and want that information. And, you know, on our websites, on our social media accounts, we are discussing these issues already. So what we need is not a bunch of people, you know, oh, what's going on here? What's going on there? We actually need information from the county to tell us what is going on. We can decide ourselves whether or not we leave town, whether or not we stay inside, or whether or not we just go on about our daily business. But that is important. At a minimum, we need an opt-in for those who want that information. It's extremely important. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Maureen Brennan.
Hi, thanks for listening. I live in a fence line community, and just for the purpose of public awareness, I think level 1 notification is very important. So people, my neighbors, you know, oh, what's going on? We can talk to each other, and also we can see just how often these things happen, and they happen quite a bit around here. And also, I'm concerned about this idea of health risk. You know, level 2 is health risk to sensitive people. I've been told repeatedly that if you can see a flare, you are affected. Even a healthy set of lungs has a challenge to their, you know, to their health. Even if it's not, you know, you're not going to fall over dead, but you are being challenged by that. And I think we have a right to see that and to understand that. Thanks.
Last call for public comment. We have no additional comments.
So Federal, what's your sense on maybe asking health to take a look at some opt-in, opt-out, or opt-in and automatic? It seems that, so maybe in listening to what people are saying, that there is a way to, I do think that serious level 1s should be automatically, the serious ones should be automatically should automatically put out notices to CWS, to our existing system. That's people who have the landlines or have registered their cell phone. That the serious level one automatically go out. The question is for the others, do we want to have an opt-in system where people are saying, registering their cell and opting in to those other? Because I think there's going to be, when you explain to people what this is about in greater detail, I've often heard, yeah, minor ones, give us a choice to opt in. The major ones, I want to automatically get them. That's sort of what I hear.
Right, and I agree with that. I think that, you know, as I stated earlier, anything that's visual or has an odor, we want to make sure that we're getting it out there. And then for staff to look at an opt-out, opt-in process for all others.
So maybe what you do is, I think the health department should work with the sheriff's department that operates the system to come up with some options, some proposals, some parameters along those lines and come back to us.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and just to be clear, supervisors, what I'm hearing is the general public would automatically receive the significant level ones, wherever we end up drawing that line. And there would be an opt-in, opt-out system for the lower level ones. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's what we're saying, right, Federal?
Yes, that's
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so supervisors, the county health department will work with the office of the sheriff, the community warning system folks to come back at the next meeting with sort of a proposal.
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. That's our direction. All right, moving on to item number 10, to receive an update regarding potential revisions to the industrial safety ordinance and provide direction as necessary. And that really deals with our the storage tanks, the new STAR type of facility.
Yes, thank you Supervisor Joya. So as we have reported out in previous meetings of this ad hoc committee, the Health Hazardous Materials Division had developed a working group to draft proposed amendments to the industrial safety ordinance to incorporate terminal facilities as a result of the New Star incident from 2019. From our last update, we had submitted those draft amendments to County Council and were addressing their comments. We did address the first round of comments with County Council and resubmitted them back to County Council after the December 11th ISO CWS ad hoc meeting. The division did receive comments back on that second revision and have been in active discussions with County Council to continually address these comments. The team had their most recent meeting with County Council yesterday, and it is my understanding that we are very close to a draft that can be for which we can take next steps on from county after this County Council review. End of report.
So when you say that you're close, what does that mean in terms of timing?
Yeah, so based on the remaining comments left to address, if my understanding is after this last meeting, whatever remaining comments that we have from County Council are the last comments for us to address, and then we can take the next steps in this process to be able to submit these amendments for adoption.
So within the next month?
That would be my best guess estimate, but I do not want to misspeak on that, but that is my understanding that within the next month or so, we would be at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And if I could,
Public comment, yes.
just to be clear, this committee wants to see the draft ordinance before it goes to the full board, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So based on what Nicole said, I'm hoping that at the next meeting, we can have a draft ordinance for you all to review and approve for us to move forward with.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Public comment?
Oh, Yes.
If you'd like to make a public comment on item number 10, which is to receive an update regarding potential revisions to the industrial safety ordinance, please raise your hand now in the Zoom app. Our first speaker will be Shoshana Westler.
Hi, so I didn't want to narrowly address the New Star related storage tank policy, but I did want to suggest that we really should have some kind of mechanism in place by which the community can make detailed recommendations that would contribute to the development of a far more robust ISO. And I know that Nicole, in the recent past, has opined publicly that such revision is really necessary at this point. I want to say that there already has been some community recommendation, and in fact, the specific recommendation to, increase the hazard scores in the ISO ended up in the draft for the general plan, happily ended up there. And I think that was an instance, in fact, I will name names, of Will Nelson listening very carefully to the community. But I really feel that it needs a complete makeover. And I happen to know many community activists who really would like to tuck in and work very hard on recommendations for, a fuller revision of the ISO, myself included. And I know I've suggested this probably before, at least a couple of times, but I think once we, as members of the public, have completed the submission of our comments on the climate action and general plans, we'll be hungry for a new assignment. So let's get a public mechanism in place for community feedback. Thanks.
We have no more comments.
Okay. Yeah, the issue on this, the scores with the general plan, how are you working with Will Nelson on this? Or with the general plan?
Oh, yes, sorry, I didn't. Yes.
Can you repeat that,
Yeah.
Supervisor Joya?
So how are you working with the general plan changes on the sort of these issues?
Yeah, so we have been engaged in discussions over the years on the general plan, and Michael Kent has been working with me on the recommendations that have been brought forth around the industrial safety ordinance, and specifically the scoring and land use portion. And so we have provided comments to Will Nelson on this. And that's how we've been involved.
But in terms of looking at how we may make changes. And looking at any changes we would make at the in the ordinance.
I don't think we've looked at that yet.
Yeah, I don't believe we've looked at that yet either.
Okay. I think that's an issue we can put up for further discussion. Okay. All right.
All right.
That was our last item. So we are adjourned until we set another meeting. I don't think we have another meeting yet on the books, but we will be doing that.
Yes, and we will bring several items back, supervisors, but we will be in contact with you to schedule the next meeting once we have significant updates on many of the items.
Great, thank you. All right, okay. All right.
Good night.
Bye.